Alright, awesome. So if last video was on what was a history, today we're going to talk about how evolution actually exists. So we're looking at adaptations and variations, obviously, and we're going to learn what's the actual difference between them. So variations. Variations always comes from mutations and sexual reproduction. So if you don't sexually reproduce and you don't have a mutation, you're not going to be able to get this variation. Or if you only have mutation but you don't sexually reproduce, you're not going to be able to pass this variation on. And if you only sexually reproduce but you don't have any mutations, then you're just sexually reproducing. How does mutation work exactly? Well, mutation is sort of a change in the DNA structure, and this is basically the only source of variation, and there is no guarantees. So maybe suddenly you have this mutation that allows you to understand Mandarin or Cantonese or Chinese just in general. But you don't know why you're doing that. And you don't know if you trigger something. It's just completely random. Now, mutations aren't always good though. They could be bad, or they could be beneficial, or most of the time, they're just neutral. They're just there. They don't do anything. You and I, and everybody probably watching this, we probably have thousands and even billions of mutations, but we don't know what it does. It's just there. It doesn't affect us, so we don't feel it at all. So, however, what may be neutral environment may be detrimental or advantageous in the future or in another environment. For example, some people, they are able to bear more heat. So they can survive in a warmer environment without drinking water, or keep on drinking water, or get stressed or whatever. So these people, and they live in Toronto, so they realize, oh, it's just nothing. I can bear more heat. I can go around in the summer without needing to eat an ice cream or something. But the fact that when you put them in California right now, they're going to save some lives because they can go in the fire. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, they're more beneficial to live in California because California is very hot. So it's all about the environment around you that makes your mutation beneficial or not. So sexual reproduction, they put these DNA together in brand new combinations. So we learned that mitosis in grade 9, I believe. Mitosis create completely identical cells. But there's another process called meiosis that it's creating sexually unique cells. It's all unique. There's no absolute same. So that's why when you do the DNA test and blood test, and you realize, oh, it's 99.7 or 97 or 98%, that's your biological father. It's always not 100%, because you can never ever be 100% the same as anyone, essentially. So mutations in the gamete cells. There's a difference between gamete and somatic cells. So gametic cells are the sex cells. And when you reproduce, the sex cells are the ones actually evolved in the process. So if you have a mutation that's beneficial in the sex cell, you'll be able to pass that on when you reproduce. However, a somatic cell is just any cell in your body, maybe your skin cell or a bone cell or whatever, muscle cell. When the mutation happens there, it will disappear essentially when you die. So you're only passing on your reproductive cells, and you aren't passing on, let's say, your skin cell. Your offspring is going to develop skin cells himself, and he's not going to need that from you. So if a mutation alters the DNA in a gametic cell, the mutation may be passed on to a next generation as a new allele. So keyword here is may. So it has a chance of passing it on. So in genetics, we're going to learn what's that chance. However, we just need to know that it's not guaranteed. There's no guarantee in this biology world. Alright, we're not gonna be like, oh, I'm 100% after I do this, I'm gonna be able to unlock this new trait. No, this is not a game. This is not a Roblox simulator. But yeah, you just gotta know that only if a mutation alters the DNA in a gametic cell, that mutation may be passed on. And always remember, mutations are the starting point of genetic variations. So variation exists within a population. We had some example of this. So you see, these are beetles, and these are, I believe, bees. So look, they all look different. This one has a thing moving forward, backward, a little less, and this is going up, this is going down, this is that, this is more crumbled up. this I don't know what that is, goes forward, goes forward, this goes back. And then beetles, you see all of these. This could be a little more orange, this could be even more orange, a little less orange, and this is full orange, a little less black dots. There's variations exist. And you see a giraffe and all of these dogs. So these are us. We're trying to change. Okay, so we want these because they look good. So hey, little chow, looks pretty cool. And then this is supposed to be the fire dog because it looks like whenever you see one of these dogs in the fire, you're like, oh, there's my dog. So these are supposed to be the fire hounds, and yeah, giraffes. They all have different colors. So you see, every single one of these, they have variations. Now, adaptation. Variation is neutral, always neutral. Well, yeah, variation is just there. You're different, but adaptation is a variation that is beneficial. So a variation that could help me survive. Essentially, for giraffes, it's longer neck. For dogs, it could be sharper teeth, or it runs faster. So there's different types of adaptations, though. Number one we're going to look at is behavioral. So the way an organism acts that will essentially help it to survive and reproduce. So we see here we have penguins. So penguins, if we watch the movies, penguins, their mother gives birth to the little penguin, and the penguin will stay in under the dad. So the dad is going to watch for the kid, while the mom go hunts for food. So I don't know. You should. How exactly does that help to survive? Well, the dad is usually stronger than the mom, but catching food is obviously not as important as watching your offspring. So usually that job is handed to the dad, so the kid has a better chance to survive. And right here, we have this beautiful butterfly. Now we know that caterpillars, they're the first phase of butterflies. After caterpillars, they grow up and they go into this little nest, they become a butterfly. Essentially, they're developing. And however, these butterflies, they have different colors, and some of them, they blend into the environment so well, we can't even tell it's there. And these butterflies, they have behavior adaptations, and they have structural adaptations. And I think we're going to watch this video. Hold up.
This outdoor picnic has an avian invader. But this satin bowerbird isn't interested in snatching food. He's stealing straws for love. This Australian songbird lives to lure females to his bower, an avenue of sticks built with one purpose in mind: mating. But no self-respecting female is going to set foot in this bare-bones bachelor pad. He needs to redecorate. And he knows what the ladies like. Blue is their favorite color. This female is not particularly impressed. To win her heart, he'll have to up the ante. Now that's a big spender. Finally, the female allows herself to step inside his love nest. Male bowerbirds have an elaborate mating dance. But for this female, a ring seals the deal. At least until the next girl comes along.
Yep. Okay, so we just looked at that video. It's pretty funny. So, so how is that a behavior adaptation, you may ask? Well, so these people, these birds, they get these blue stuff to attract females, obviously. So, behavioral. So if some bird in that population is so good at finding blue stuff, it's obviously going to have a better chance of mating. So when we talk about adaptations, it's not only survive. It could be survive or reproduce. So if they're able to find more blue stuff that attract more female, they're obviously going to be able to reproduce more. So that is also actually an adaptation of themselves that we just don't notice. Now, remember that dance? That dance is also behavioral. If some bird dance better than the other birds, obviously it's going to have a better chance of mating than the other ones. And that is how behavioral adaptations work. You just have to know that behavioral is the behavior. Structural. Structural adaptation is much more straightforward. It's specific part and features of an organism body that helps it survive and reproduce. So, whenever we look at these adaptations, the only confusing one is the last one. But yeah, we're gonna look at that in a second. So there's mimicry. So what is a mimicry? A mimicry is something that's trying their best to look like something else. And there are two types of mimicry: Batesian and Müllerian. So these are harmless species that's trying their best to look like a harmful species. So that when the predators they realize, oh, let's say a snake, maybe this poisonous snake. When the predators try to eat them, the snake is gonna spit their poison on the predator and kill the predator. But these non-poisonous snakes, they don't have anything to defend themselves. So they try their best to look like a poisonous snake, so the predators will be like, oh, maybe that one spits venom too, I'm gonna run away. So Müllerian mimicry is just two different species. They develop similar structure and colors. So either both of them should be pretty deadly, so that predators will essentially try their best to avoid both species. We have an example here: coral snakes and a scarlet snake. So actually one of them is poisonous, but you see these. So we usually have eagles or these flying birds that's trying to eat those snakes. But on like maybe 20 meters above the land, you're not gonna see so well. So these two colors, you probably look at them like the same color, but some bird, they have very less developed eyes. So they may be like, oh, they're the same thing, I'm just gonna avoid both of them. Wasp and hoverflies. So these two are both really, really deadly, but however, they look very similar. So these are Müllerian mimicry. They are both deadly, but they develop similar structure and similar coloring, so that predators will essentially avoid both. Now, monarch and viceroy butterflies are basically the same thing. Dart frogs, we're gonna also look at these. Look, they all look very similar, and predators, they don't distinguish that much color, because you gotta understand, the predators, they could be birds or they could be snakes, and they don't really have developed eyesight. Now, camouflage. Adaptations that help an organism hide. So as you can see, this word is camouflaging with the background if I remove everything. So we have this walking leaf. If I just stand in front of it and be like, whoa, this looks like a beautiful leaf, I cannot even tell that this is actually an organism. And trust me, when you see this, you probably thought it was a leaf too. But this is actually an organism. It's camouflaged itself so great that you cannot distinguish. Now, deadly frog, it probably needs a couple years of development, but it's pretty damn good right now. So you see this? These you just look up. Maybe frogs. Let's say what hunts them? Snakes. Let's say they're pretty far away. They realize, oh, it's just mud, I'm gonna leave. So they don't see these frogs very well. However, they're pretty bright, so they still need a couple years of development. These. So Tessellata stick insect. So I know a lot of you that plays games and all that, you call these stick bug. There was like that very funny dance out there. But yeah, these stick bug, they actually look like sticks. You can't distinguish them. I can't distinguish them. If I put this picture in front of you and tell you it's just sticks, you will believe me. But you can't even distinguish which part of it is an insect. But you can see it's right here, because it has this complex structure. Now, the last adaptation. Now, remember, I want you to remember, all of these, they all belong into the structural adaptation, because they're changing of structure. See, changing of color, changing of color, changing of color, changing of color. Camouflage is also changing of structure shape. It looks like a leaf, it looks like some mud, looks like a stick. Yeah. Now, the last one we're going to look at is physiological adaptations. It's some special functions that require some biochemical process that essentially will help an organism survive. So, special functions. Biochemical process is just an example. It's not really it. That's it. No. So, but however, it's a great start. So we can look at snakes. They develop venom, so they can spit at some guys and kill them. And special functions we can also look at. Let's say cheetahs. Yeah, we just looked at it. Cheetahs. Why not? Cheetahs. Their leg they spread so far, so they run incredibly fast. And you got to remember, their heart is also strong because you can't beat that fast without a strong heart. Now we also look at something called sperm whale. They're really, there's a lot of adaptations. So there's a gizmo on this, which I'll get all of you to do, but you just gotta understand that this is the easiest to remember. Structural and behavioral also easy to remember. Physiological even easier to remember. So you just gotta know at least one example of them, but it's not going to be taking up a majority of your test or even your exam because we're trying to test your knowledge, not your application. However, you still need to know all of this. Just give one example of every single one of it. You just gotta remember that.